And he takes these scans of the brain. This is a brain that's been doing speed methamphetamines, and you can see the holes in the brain. And this is 3 years, and this is 4 years of alcohol. And you can see this is a normal brain here. Can you all see that all right? This is really, really important. And then you can see what alcohol does. Just 4 years of alcohol, it makes holes in the brain. And then here is 2 years of someone smoking marijuana on a regular basis. You can see the holes. And then this is cocaine. It all looks different, but nonetheless they're damage to the brain. It's mostly holes. And then here is 6 years of inhalants. And then this is 3 years of smoking cigarettes. And this is a healthful drug-free brain at the age of 16. This is one at 16, and this is an older person. One of the wonderful things about the brain is that you can always heal and restore and provide good health for the brain. So because it may have these holes, if you continue to eat healthy and foods that are healthy for your body, you're going to reverse that condition. So I want you to see that because I think it's really, really important. And there was a man that had this petition for me to sign to legalize marijuana in California. And anyway, he said, would you like to sign this petition to legalize marijuana? And I said, what? I said, do you have any idea what marijuana does to the brain cells? You know, and I just gave him, and he goes, okay, lady, all right, lady. I said, no, and furthermore. He said, all right, lady, all right. So it is serious. Believe me, it doesn't do any good. I've had clients that have smoked pot for 10, 12 years, didn't smoke pot for 10 years, cleansed their body. They can actually see the smell, the THC coming through their brain cells and getting a slight high from the THC leaving the body from cleansing their body. I've seen people on alcoholics that had not drank alcohol for 12 years, did a cleanse, and they could actually smell the alcohol coming out of the pores of their skin because it was releasing out of the system. So there's different components to obtaining a healthy brain. I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I was born December 5th, 1939. So I always say, been there, done that, you know. You can say that when you're 72 years old. But I will be a great-grandmother, and Sherry is going to be a grandmother of the same baby. So we're real excited.
That's right.
And on August the 15th, I am a great-grandmother because he's already there growing. And, but I want to tell you my story of how I came to where I am with the brain. In 1990, when I was 50 years old, 1970, when I was my 30s, I had breast implants. And in 1990, I had the breast implants removed. And then I had new breast implants put in my body. At that time, I belonged to an organization called the Silicone Scene. The Silicone Scene was an organization that was filing a lawsuit against the AMA for these implants that were doing so much damage. And at that time, after I had the new implants put in, something happened to me. I would be in a conversation, and right in the middle of the conversation, right in the middle of the sentence, I would stop, and I'd draw a blank. And my family or my clients or people would say, well, finish what you were saying. And I couldn't remember what I was saying. I actually drew a blank in the middle of the conversation. That's how serious this was. I thought, oh my gosh, 50 years old, what's going on here? And then I went to these meetings, with Silicone Scene meetings, and I noticed that they were doing the same thing that I was doing. They would be talking to me and just drawing a blank. Right in the middle of the conversation, I thought, oh my gosh, this is the same as me. And I told my family, I said, I'm taking these things out of my body because they were doing something to my brain. I tell this to medical doctors and they don't just blow me off, they don't want to hear it. But this is what happened, and after I had the implants taken out of my body, all of that left. All that brain problem that I was having was gone. So I connected to the implants. I was an obese person. I always suffered from obesity. I grew up eating unhealthy, and I was diagnosed borderline diabetic in 1970, when all you were young whippersnappers, right? In 1970, borderline diabetic. My mom, father, Father, mother, sister, 2 brothers, aunts, full-blown type 2 diabetics. And I am 72 and I'm not a diabetic. So I was addicted to sugar, addicted terribly to refined sugar. Could not get off of it. And that's another story that I don't want to get sidetracked here. Everything that I'm telling you today is not opinion, it's not fad, it's not theory, it's not somebody's idea, it's not thought, it's scientific research. So everything that I'm going to share with you is actually scientific research, okay? Please know that. I'm a considered 30-year pioneer in the industry of alternative health, and this book is the first book written about cleansing, detox, and alternative health. Internal cleansing is the largest growing, fastest growing alternative health profession in the United States right now. Why? Because we're living in such a toxic environment. There's over 100 pounds of pollutants that have already been dumped into our, 200 million tons of hazardous pollutants have already been dumped into our atmosphere. And we are consuming over 1 pound of food additives per year in our body. 1 billion pounds of toxic compounds have been dumped into our crops. That's 4 pounds per person. So there's over 100,000 chemicals that have already been established worldwide. They've found over 600, at least 600 of these chemicals that are in people's bodies today. And they're in our bodies because of the additives, preservatives, pesticides, insecticides, herbicides, dyes. The list goes on and on. And now they're genetically modifying our foods. So we are bombarded with these impurities that are starting to affect our brain. And they're predicting by 2025 there will be 20 million Alzheimer's patients in the United States. Right now we have 4. So, and plus, I don't mean to get sidetracked here, but I want you to know too that mad cow disease, you need to keep an eye on my time.
Okay.
Here you go. Mad cow disease is not something that is,
Thank you.
is tested in the United States. Japan wouldn't buy our beef because they found mad cow disease in our beef. But when people get mad cow disease, they have the same symptoms as Alzheimer's patients. So when people have Alzheimer's, they do autopsies. They try not to do autopsies on Alzheimer's because the mad cow disease is so highly contagious. So it's a condition that we need to really be sensitive of. And the reason is because they have been feeding our cattle, our chickens, the same cow dung and chicken dung and animals of animals. And those animals are herbivores, they're not carnivores. And yet they've been feeding them. So this disease is established. It was established really in South America. And anyway, pesticide residue in fruit is only 1%. In vegetables, in grains 1%. In vegetables, 6%. In fruit, 4%. In dairy, 27%. And in animal products, 55%. So I'm telling you this because I want you to be sensitive as to what you're putting into your body. Because we're really where we're at because of what we've been putting into our bodies and not even realizing that this is a detriment to our brain health. And you know, I don't know about you, but I don't want to grow old with Alzheimer's. My stepmother died of dementia. And I saw a beautiful, wonderful, godly lady go with no brain. It's sad, it breaks your heart. And I don't want to be that kind of old lady. My God never intended for me to grow old, sick, mentally or physically. And I want to grow old, giving my great-grandson a piggyback ride. You know, putting him on my shoulders and having energy to take care of him, which I probably will be doing, and so will you, Sherry. But that's the kind of old person I want to be. And one of the biggest concerns that I have had throughout the years is my brain, especially when I had this incident happen to me. Aluminum and mercury they found in autopsies of Alzheimer's patients of aluminum. Where do you get aluminum from? Aluminum cans, regular cans, and you get it from Jell-O, you can get it from Post Raisin Bran, you can get it from certain deodorants. Most common deodorants have aluminum. You can get it from baking soda, baking powder. And by the way, there are alternatives to this. You can get it from iodized salt. Baby formula has aluminum. So we're bombarded with these toxins. Mercury. They took 50 pounds of fish, and all kinds of fish from the lakes, fish from the sea. They dissected the fish in New York City, and what they established with and I'm talking about fish with fins and scales, swordfish, the list goes on and on. What they found was that 85% of this fish had mercury. 80% of the fish had DDT, or DDE. DDE is a derivative of DDT, which was banned in the United States back in the early 80s. 40% of the fish, and glad you're sitting down, had human fecal matter in it. So the San Diego Bay, I don't know if you're aware of it, but in the bottom layer of San Diego Bay is a layer of DDT. And our fish are eating the foods that come from the DDT. So we're bombarded with these impurities. And I'm not here to tell you to preach at you to do what I do. I'm here to tell you, to encourage you to take what you're taking into your body with caution. Every time I put something into my body, I ask myself, is this good for my brain? Is this going to help me with my brain? And what are the foods that help you with your brain? Antioxidants. Omegas. Your omegas are really important. Antioxidants they fight free radicals. Free radicals is what causes cancer, heart disease, and brain damage. So, makeup, lead. Makeup has lead in it. And the pipes, they theorized that the Roman Empire declined because of all the lead in the aqueducts. And they were consuming so much lead. Well, we also have lead in our pipes. And I would encourage you, if you haven't invested in a good water distiller, please get one. I have a distiller here in Julian, and Kristen can tell you, she cleaned out a layer this thick of white, foamy, powdery substance. And I don't know what it is, but I know it's not something that's not good, because it came out of the water. And please drink distilled water. You see water that says spring water, mineral water. Well, there's two kinds of minerals that you need to be aware of. There's organic minerals and there's inorganic minerals. So people will say, oh, I don't want you to don't drink distilled water because it pulls out the organic minerals. Well, yeah, it does, but it pulls out inorganic minerals. You do not need inorganic minerals. What you need is organic minerals, which we find in carrots and vegetables. And so that's something that's a little bit of twisted truth in drinking distilled water. Distilled water has been drinking for thousands of years. I have been drinking distilled water for 40 years. 40 years. And they'll say also distilled water makes your body acid. That's simply not true. I test my alkalinity every day, and by the way, I have some handouts of alkaline foods for you to eat. And 80% alkaline, 20% acid. There are some healthy acid foods that you can eat, and so please feel free to take those, and then some brain foods for you to take home with you and pick out if you want to. What foods have free radicals in them? Now these are the foods that are not good for the brain, right? So what foods do you think have free radicals? Foods that have free radicals in them are foods that have no fiber in it. Because you need fiber. It's so important to have fiber. Because what does fiber do? It moves out the impurities of the body. If you're eating foods that do not have fiber, it's lodged in there, it's staying in there, and it makes the brain toxic. So eat foods that have fiber in them. What are fiber foods? There's 5 of them. I call them God-made foods. Fruits, vegetables, grains, legumes, raw nuts, and raw seeds. Those are all fiber foods. They're God-made foods. Your body was designed to consume God-made foods. So if you're eating too much animal, which we're doing in our culture, aren't we? We eat a lot of meat, a lot of chicken, a lot of fish, eggs, cheese, dairy, things like that. And I'm not saying not to. I don't, but I'm not saying not to for you. It's your body. You make the decisions. But cut back. If you can cut back, because those foods have no fiber in them. And they have been proven scientifically to be carcinogenic to the body. Depression. You know anybody with depression? I know a lot of people with depression. Every other client, practically every other client that I see suffers from depression. Very, very common. The drug Prozac, extremely common. People are taking like crazy now. Those are toxic to the brain. They're not enhancing the brain at all. And if you see somebody with depression, encourage them to eat cashews, raw cashews. They're delicious if you've never had them. They're great for depression. Niacin, you need to take niacin. If you know anybody with depression, niacin is really, really good. But you got to take it in large doses. They did a study on rats, and they found rats